Hello, everybody. Welcome to Blade Talk. Welcome to another edition of Blade Talk. So glad to see you all here. Blade Talk with Scab and Joe. Before we get into anything, a message to our veterans. Veterans, there's a place for you here. You're always welcome here. There's a number in the description for some good folk that can help you if you're in despair. We're calling it hashtag 22 a day no more. The number, from what I understand, is getting lower. So that's why I'm trying to coin it at hashtag 22 a day no more, because even one is too much. So this is a very exciting Blade Talk, guys. We've been looking forward to this for a long time. The reason why we started up Blade Talk is to talk about knives and talk about our love for knives, historical knives, swords, anything with a blade on it. And that's the reason why we started this Blade Talk show. Now, basically, the gentleman that's joining us here today is the voice behind all our knives, and a very influential voice and a very important voice. So that's why we're very excited to have him in the room with us tonight. And he's probably one of the most important guests we've ever had on the show, and for so many reasons. So without further ado, let's bring in Scab. Hello, my friend. How are you today?
How are you? Doing good. Doing good. Everything's well. Hope everybody's doing good. Hello to everybody in the room. John, JR, Casey, Rusty, BC Gerbs, everybody.
Hey, guys.
Thank you guys for being here. Listen, not going to tie the man up long. This is big for us. Anybody who advocates for me when it comes to knives, I'm a fan of. I'm super excited to have Mr. Ritter here for a lot of reasons. Joe, let's don't wait. Let's bring the man, the myth, the legend on. Ladies and gentlemen, Doug Ritter.
And on cue. Hello, Mr.
Not
Ritter.
sure about the legend part, but okay.
Just go with it. We do what we can. Thank you for being. I said it a while ago, and I apologize. I work two jobs, but thank you for taking the time to be here. Thank you for standing up for our rights, and I'm as sincere with that as I can be. Thank you for doing that. Somebody's got to do it. I'm sure it's not easy.
It's a pleasure to be with you guys. You know, we work hard. It's nice to know that someone's paying attention to all our efforts, and that it's appreciated. And I welcome the opportunity to let more people know about what we do, how we do it, and how they can help, because it's a team effort. We can't do this just by ourselves.
That's a perfect point. It is a team effort, because you're championing this. You founded kniferights.org, but it has to be a team effort in order to make it work. And, you know, the funding is tremendous. I don't have to tell you. So it definitely has to be a team effort. And hopefully we can voice that, you know, with this live, and get that message across as well.
Well, from what I understand, Mr. Ritter, you just had a pretty big victory.
Today was a good day. It's not a victory yet, but it's we're working towards that. Our Virginia bill to repeal their switchblade ban got out of the House today with a unanimous vote. We really appreciate it when we can get support from both sides, and getting out unanimously, while not that unusual for us, really puts a exclamation point on the fact that what we're trying to do is supported by both sides of the aisle, and it sets us up good to move on to the Senate and the Senate Judiciary Committee and all that sort. So yeah, this has been a pretty good day for knife rights.
Good,
fantastic.
Good. Well, tell me this: what exactly got you started? What was the catalyst where you said, "Hey, this is what I'm going to do. This is why I'm going to do it"?
So in 2006, the Wall Street Journal ran an article, headline of the V section, that was basically a bunch of bull about how evil, quote, tactical knives were.
Right.
It was pretty much like every article you ever read that was anti, assault weapon or that sort of thing, except just substitute tactical knives. And I had an epiphany, if you will, that there was no NRA for knife owners. There was no organization out there that was proactively going out and getting rid of knife bans and restrictions that have been with us, many of them since the Civil War, others from the mid to late 50s. And what organization existed that were they were reactive rather than proactive. They pissed me off, and apparently, if you piss Doug off, he goes and does crazy, stupid things.
There you go.
Starting knife rights.
Well, I appreciate it, and I have a question, and you and Joe have talked about how we're going to format the show. So Joe's going to be the primary host, but this is a question I wanted to ask you.
Sure.
I did a video one time on a ballistic knife, and you know, when you do videos and things, you put yourself out there and you get, some people love you, some people hate you, and it is what it is. But
try sitting in this chair.
Yeah, oh, I can't imagine. I can't imagine. But in 1988, Congress banned the ballistic knife because of the movie Commando. Explain to folks because I've had people say, well, it's legal here, it's legal. No, explain to folks if it's a federal ban, if it's legal or not, if you don't mind.
Sure. So the ballistic knife ban goes hand in hand with the Federal Switchblade Act and is basically an addendum to it.
Okay.
So there are a couple things you need to understand about the Federal Switchblade Act. First of all, it has no say in what happens inside your state. It is simply a interstate commerce ban. And interstate also includes import from outside the United States. So one of the reasons that we work so hard to get rid of switchblade bans, which we've been very successful at, I think we're up to 17 switchblade bans repealed so far, is that once the knives are legally in the state, once the manufacturer has sent them to a dealer in accordance with the Federal Switchblade Act, or as the Federal Switchblade Act has been interpreted for the last few decades. Once they're in the state, it's state law.
Okay.
So when we get rid of a ban, whether it's on switchblade knives or even ballistic knives, which aren't as big an issue, then it's perfectly legal for people to sell them within that state.
Okay. And like I said, I'd had a lot of blowback and not knowing. I'm like, well, I know it's federally banned. I know what they said, so that's what I'm going to go with. That's kind of why I wanted to ask you that.
So that understanding of the Federal Switchblade Act is one of those areas where a lot of people who just assume, well, it's a federal ban, that means you can't do it anywhere, and that's not the case, thankfully. Okay. As I like to tell people who try to insist that's the case, as occasionally we get, is I would not have spent the last couple decades working to get rid of these bans if it wouldn't have done any good.
Right.
So, once the knives are in the state, if they're legal, they're legal.
They're legal.
Okay. Well, no, I really appreciate that. I mean, that was one of the reasons, as silly as it sounds, but that was one reason I was so excited you were coming on. And we stress, Joe and I both stress, I stress in my videos, know your laws. Know your laws. And so in Florida, we're okay. We can walk down the street with katanas and we've done that. You know, so we're a little more blessed here where Joe's at.
No.
It's tough.
We had a conversation last night about that.
So one of the things I would mention at this point is our legal blade app. So this is a compilation of all the knife laws in the states of the United States, about 40 larger cities, and we also include links to resources where you can find out the law in your particular city or county. So we've made it very easy, well, relatively easy for people to know what's legal and what's not. There are gray areas that, you know, that's the way it is. Our solution to gray areas is get rid of the bans entirely, and then you don't have to worry about the gray areas. Exactly. You know, so that's our goal.
Exactly.
We've had other shows before where just for, shits and giggles, we were all talking about, actually one of our first Blade Talk shows, I think it was, right, Scab, as far as we were talking about knife laws in particular states, and obviously with speaking with people all around the country. So, and it was quite engaging. I mean, because it's just amazing to me. And I'm not going to sit here in this chair and say, I know every knife law of every state. I don't know anything, but it was intriguing to me how it differs from state to state. If I was to get in my car and drive from New York across the country to Cali or down to Florida, I would have a different restriction of everything that I'm carrying as I pass state lines. So it just what I found, that it was so much confusion that people didn't understand. Why are we able to do this here and not there? Why is this different? And it's just amazing to me. It's mind-boggling how everything is just so spread across the spectrum, and everyone, so many people are so confused as far as really what their laws are and why it differs from state to state. I mean, obviously, this is why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah, and there are two issues with that. So there's the fact that state laws are different. So that's number one. Number two, in states without knife law preemption, which we've passed in a bunch of states now, you can have local laws that are more restrictive than state law. So you could have a state without knife law preemption where your knife is perfectly legal and cross a city line and your knife is illegal. So that's a problem as well. And then the other problem is that if you put 100 people in a room and asked each of them what the law was in their state for knives, I'd be very surprised if more than 50% got it right, because there are all kinds of myths, misunderstandings. It can only be as long as your middle finger. I mean, there's, has to fit within your palm. There's all kinds of things that are not part of the law.
Right. Yeah.
And one of the reasons that we did the Legal Blade app is to make it easy for folks to understand what the law is where they live, and as importantly for folks that travel, where they're going, where they're crossing. If you're driving, it's a whole lot easier to not break the law than deal with breaking the law, even if you've done it inadvertently and innocently. That doesn't lower the lawyer's fee at all.
No.
Right.
No. Yeah. I have a friend now. Let me go ahead and preface it, and Josh is fine with me mentioning he was a convicted felon, but last year he was going to work, was pulled over on his bike, had a cold steel Voyager 5.5-inch blade in his pocket, got arrested. He got 3 years on paper, house arrest, for having a work, and it was in his pocket. Now the law in Florida is 4.5 inches. And you touched on one that drives me insane when people go, oh, it can be your palm. That's the dumbest ass thing I've ever heard. What if you got a cop that's a midget? Yeah. What if you got a cop that's the job? I mean, it doesn't. And people say it like, like they're living in, man, it can be as long as that doesn't make sense.
That's been the premise forever. As long as I've been a kid, I remember the 4-finger rule.
And you have to remember where that comes from. Okay. So oftentimes law enforcement, uses that sort of thing because it's convenient.
Right.
Certainly easier than whipping out a ruler. And oftentimes it's close enough. But that doesn't mean it's the law. And those kind of myths get perpetrated or handed down sometimes from generations. Grandpa tells dad, who tells his kid, and before you know it. So it's important to understand what the law actually is so you don't break it. And felons and knives are a whole nother category of the law. In many states, there's a limit to the size of knife they can carry. In some states, it's nebulous, such as pocket knife. And what's a pocket knife? So if you're a felon, you really need to understand even more than a regular citizen what your knife is, what your knife laws are for you, because the downside is a whole lot worse.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And and again, this isn't like making excuses or saying, oh, he was screwed, because he has some affiliations, and you have to be wise in your choices. And he wasn't. But when you're taking, everybody will tell you, I carry a bigger knife to work. I'm not a felon, praise the Lord, but I do know my laws as well. Joe come down a couple weeks ago, and he got to wear a fixed blade for the first time. And we went to the woods and we did all that, and we cut a bunch of stuff. Of your app is, because I'm going to put it on my phone when we're done. Is it the Legal Aid app? What is that?
It's Legal Blade, one word.
Legal Blade. Okay.
Legal Blade, one word.
See if I could bring it up.
If you can, let's share that, because I think that's
available for both iPhone and Android, free. And it's updated.
Legal Blade is the app. Okay.
Legal Blade is the app. One word.
I'm putting it on my phone.
Okay.
I'm definitely putting it on my phone. Definitely. What are some of the biggest challenges you face? Financing, logistics. What challenges, and how can we help?
Well, everything rolls back to finances. Even though Sue and I don't take any money out of knife rights, we still need to raise a few $100,000 a year just to cover our lobbyists' expenses, which are rising dramatically. Those kind of things add up. I mean, fundraising expenses. It's a constant battle. We have an annual fundraiser, the Ultimate Steel Spectacular, which I am in the process of gathering prizes for. If there are any custom knife makers out there that would like to participate, please drop us a line. But yeah, that's the constant battle. We get about half our annual budget from industry, and we have to raise the other half from individuals and donors who are pretty generous. But our travel expenses are stupid.
Oh, I'm sure. I can't imagine.
Because more often than not, if I'm going to a knife show, I know about that ahead of time. If Todd, our lobbyist, or I have to head to a hearing or something, we know maybe 48 hours or 3 days ahead of time if we're lucky. Sometimes it's literally, you need to head to the airport now because the hearing's tomorrow morning.
Wow.
Despite all our efforts to make sure we're informed, some of these legislatures don't have very significant notification times. And so, boom, we got to be there. One of the reasons that we get things done is we show up, and we keep showing up till we get it done. One example is Ohio. So last year, we finished up our first bill in Ohio that got rid of all the vague knife restrictions in Ohio law that would entrap unwary innocent victims, and allowed for the manufacture and sale of automatic knives in Ohio. That was a 5-year effort. During the actual legislative calendar, the year and a half that we had to work with, we had a total of 3 hearings in the Senate, 6 hearings in the House, plus votes in both houses. That's a huge amount of travel.
Yeah.
Now that is the exception rather than a rule. Typically, we can get by with a hearing or two, a vote, but still, it adds up. We're back in Ohio this year. We've spent a bunch of time getting our second bill, our preemption bill, ready to go. We probably have at least 3 more hearings, hopefully the first one next week. Again, the travel expenses are just ridiculous and have increased substantially over the last year. Then we have states, and Texas is a perfect example, where we have to very incrementally roll back their bad knife laws. Texas ain't nearly as Texas as everyone thinks it is, and certainly when we started, you couldn't possess a switchblade, you couldn't legally carry a Bowie knife. Lots and lots of restrictions on knife ownership and carry in Texas. And we have started, we have peeled that back session by session. In Texas, it's a little frustrating because they only meet every other year. So every other year, we're back in Austin, to the point where, it gets to the point where the hotel folks know my lobbyist by first name because he spends so much time there.
Sure.
Ohio is an example of where we have to keep coming back for hearings. Texas is a state where you need to go for a week or two, and then things move along, and then you have to go back for a week or two. I think the last bill we got done in Texas, Todd spent the better part of 2 months out of the year in Texas.
Wow. Now
that adds up.
Oh, now people can donate, or they can purchase your knife. I just seen Rusty Knife Flavor put the post. People can purchase your knife, and you use profits from that as well, correct?
Yeah, the knives, my RSK line, that income basically allows me to spend 95% of my time on knife rights unpaid. That's really how it works.
Well, it's an absolutely phenomenal knife. And
knife.
I'm not just saying that. It's
thank you.
Top five.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I guess, when we get a little further in, we'll spend some time talking about it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But
this is the donate page, guys, on kniferights.org. This is it's very easy to find. It's the top bar, and it's you could just click on donate, and then you can follow all the prompts from there.
Yeah, we welcome donations. I will say,
or the join
we get the majority of our donations during the Ultimate Steel, because while it takes a little bit more, you get chances to win some incredible prizes, knives and firearms and other stuff worth thousands of dollars. And at certain levels, we give you a free knife that are generously donated by some of our industry sponsors. So I would say about 75% of our donations come in via the Ultimate Steel. And that will launch probably early to mid-April. As I say, right now we are gathering the prizes together. Just back from SHOT Show, where we had meetings with a bunch of our industry partners and with folks on the firearm side as well who support us. So we're starting to put together those prizes. I think it'll be another incredible selection for folks.
Okay.
And it's winner's choice. It's unique in that the first person who gets selected gets to pick their prize from all the prizes. And then the second person picks everything but what the first person picked. So not only do you get to win a really cool prize, but you actually get to win a prize that you want.
Right. I'm sorry, it's called the Ultimate Steel.
Ultimate Steel Spectacular. And we'll launch that with announcements on our free News Slice newsletter, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I'm sure a lot of you folks will be spreading the word when the time comes.
Yeah.
But it's I would encourage people, if they do nothing else after listening to this, sign up for a free News Slice newsletter. We won't bombard your email inbox with a bunch of crap. We try to send stuff out when we have actually something useful to say, when a bill is moving, or we need folks in a particular state to write their legislators because we need to get them off their duff, get something done. The newsletter is the best source. That's where everything is first put out. And it's free.
And and I will say, you do
upper
not
right hand corner. Just click on it.
I get the newsletter, and you do not bombard people. So for everybody, go ahead and sign up for that. I'm telling y'all that's how I knew about the Virginia thing. I enjoy getting those emails. Are you going to be at Blade Show by chance?
Oh yeah, we'll be we'll be at let's see, we'll be in Ohio for Spirit of the Blade, beginning of March. Then the middle of March we'll be at Blade Show Texas. We always have a booth at Blade Show in Atlanta, and
we'll be there.
Yeah, some other knife shows as well.
That's when we'll go in June.
We'll be there. I'd like to sit with you for a few. I know you're tied up, but I would like to sit with you there for a minute and just meet you face to face.
Sure, absolutely. You know, we have a double wide booth at the show because it gets pretty busy. We've got, just set up something ahead of time because we're trying to get 10 pounds in a 5-pound bag at Blade Show.
Right.
Well,
I know everybody would like it to be shorter, but for us, it's too short. We can't get everything done that we'd like to.
Oh, I know that feeling.
Well,
and guys, don't forget about the membership too, because the membership, I mean, I'm looking at an annual membership. It's $35 a year. Then there's another tier of 50, another 50. I mean, it's not really a lot to ask, and it definitely can go a long way. And if we can get enough people on board, either doing donations or joining on the individual or knife maker annual membership, that would definitely help out a lot. So please, everyone, if you could do anything at all, at least just visit the website and see what the options are that where you can kind of do your due diligence to help out the cause.
And like I mentioned, when the Ultimate Steel comes around, everyone who donates $60 or more not only gets multiple chances to win prizes, they also get a free annual membership. So,
interesting. Okay. So $60 or more. Okay.
Yeah. So it's more money, but you get all these chances to win these cool prizes.
And you get the membership. Yeah. Right. Okay.
And every donation that's over $60, you get additional prizes and you still get that membership.
Excellent. Excellent.
We will definitely, I'll definitely do that, and we'll definitely participate in that. And let me just say this, I know we got a ways to go, but if you ever need to come on for announcements, feel free. We'd love to have you, and don't hesitate, man, because this is important to all of us. And it's big, and I'll be 100% honest with you. Rusty Knife Lover, who's in the comments, sent me her knife. That's what kick-started the whole thing right before the big knives event last year. I'm looking forward to it this year. And since then, I've really been trying to read and educate myself. And you guys do a fantastic and phenomenal job. And I can't overstate how much I appreciate that. As a guy who I carry a bunch of knives and carry a bunch of different ones, it's nice to know somebody's got your back.
Thanks, John.
It's nice to know somebody's got your back.
I appreciate it. I'm pretty proud of what we've accomplished. Since 2010, we've seen 34 bills enacted repealing knife bans in 23 states and over 150 cities and towns. Not bad for a little 3-person crew.
Not at all.
It's phenomenal what you guys have achieved. It really is. It's phenomenal. And more the reason where we really got to help you out as much as possible. And there's just so much more we can do. And I can vow that from really before this live, but we've always been really touting knife rights and all that. But I think we're really going to take an initiative even further now to really try to push the issue and really try to get as many people on board as possible.
I appreciate that. One of our biggest challenges is just getting the word out. I can't tell you the number of people I've been introduced to or meet at various events. They're like, we have a knife problem. And we do, until we fix every place. Yeah, we have a knife problem.
Yeah.
It's not as big a problem as when we started, and it's still a lot bigger than it ought to be. There's nothing rational, nothing about this. None of these knife laws make any sense whatsoever. And while we are a no apologies Second Amendment organization, we are the only Second Amendment organization that gets support from the left. today's vote in Virginia is a perfect example. Different reasons for supporting us, but the vast majority of our bills pass with bipartisan support. We get sponsors from both sides of the aisle. It really is an issue that cuts across all the political BS and really unites people. They're there for different reasons, but it unites people in a common cause. And when we sit down with legislators and we explain how stupid these laws are, and Todd, our lobbyist, brings in demos of, a one-hand opening knife, an automatic knife, assisted opening knife, a fixed blade, and demonstrates them. It's like, oh yeah, this is stupid, isn't it? So
could you explain to the folks what a switchblade is? I know we're taking it back all the way. Is it an automatic? No, seriously. I think people need to go back to the basics with some of it.
So switchblade is the nomenclature that's used in almost all of the switchblade restrictions, automatic knife restrictions in the country. There's a few like Washington where they call it a spring blade. But so when we are repealing a law, we are repealing a switchblade ban. Today, the industry calls them automatic knives, in part to get away from the switchblade experience that people have from watching West Side Story, and that sort of thing that really is the basis for almost all of these switchblade bans. So we have to get over that. So we do that by calling them automatic knives in part. But when we go talk to legislators, it's all about switchblades because that's what the law says. So we don't have the luxury of calling them anything else. But switchblades are, under the law, generally speaking, they're a knife that opens automatically by pushing a button or device in the handle.
Right.
Okay.
So assisted opening knives get away from that because they don't open automatically.
Right.
And you have to actually move the blade before the spring comes in.
Gotcha.
But if it's got a button or switch or something in the handle,
right in front of me too, yes,
and you press it or move it, and it opens, there you go, then that's a switchblade.
Yeah.
So this will be considered an automatic push button. It's
push button.
Yeah.
And one of the things people forget is that the Federal Switchblade Act and almost all, but not all, but almost all state switchblade bans also cover gravity knives.
Really?
Yeah. Because and typically butterfly knives or balisongs, because besides the switchblade definition, they'll also include knives that open with gravity or centrifugal force, or similar wording such as that. Inertia is another commonly part of the definition. And then you have states where judges have said, yeah, but, for example, a butterfly knife is perfectly legal in New York by judicial decision. It's not covered by their switchblade or gravity knife ban. And as you may know, we got rid of the gravity knife ban. So it's perfectly legal to own a gravity knife in New York, but it's not legal to own a switchblade unless you use it for hunting or fishing or trapping. But you can't buy one.
And the one thing that you had told me was interesting, that you had said, okay, under 4-inch blade type of thing.
That's New York City.
Got to be New York City. Well, when you said New York City, are you saying Manhattan? Because now you have Manhattan.
No, the 5 boroughs.
The 5 boroughs. So me being a Long Island suburb guy, does that apply to me? Or now do I have a whole new set of laws because I'm in Nassau County?
You're in a different county.
goodness. That's why it's just so confusing.
Well, and that's why we've made preemption such an important part of what we try to accomplish. So, you know, there are places in the country where you can deal with a different knife law in an hour's worth of driving, maybe 3 or 4 times, because you keep crossing city lines where things are different.
Right.
That's why preemption is so important, because it should be, well, first of all, there should not be any knife laws, but when you get to whatever the knife law is, whether there is a knife law or not, you should be able to know the state's knife laws and not have to worry about crossing a city or state line and suddenly finding yourself committing a crime.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the beautiful thing. I'll say this. I've grown up in North Florida, South Georgia. I've never had to worry a thing about a knife. Ever.
Well,
never.
So there are places where people don't worry about the knife laws until somebody in law enforcement causes them to realize they should have worried about knife laws.
Right.
So for example, Georgia didn't have preemption until we passed preemption. And if you traveled with a switchblade through Atlanta, you were breaking the law, even though switchblades were legal in Georgia.
Huh. Okay.
In Florida, where you live now, there's no knife law preemption. And there are cities and towns in Florida where, for example, switchblades or blades over a certain amount length are still illegal. So, you know, the fact that they're not prosecuted very often leads people to believe that the law is more liberal than it is.
Right.
And you can sort of tell how that works when we get rid of a switchblade ban. For example, when we got rid of Texas's ban on possession of a switchblades, all the manufacturers saw a nice little jump in sales.
Right.
When we got rid of the ban on switchblades in Illinois, and all you had to have was a FOIA card that cost like $10, every manufacturer was out of stock. And the retailers had no stock because apparently people in Texas just basically didn't care what the law said.
Right.
And people in Illinois were following the law.
Right.
And, you know, Illinois still doesn't have preemption. We'd like to get that done. So, you know, you're still faced with limitations if you live in Chicago or something like that. But, you know, different states have different cultures, and that contributes oftentimes to misunderstanding of what the law actually is. Our solution is get rid of the law, and then there's no way to have a misunderstanding about that.
Right. Right.
Perfect.
That makes sense.
Yep.
That makes sense. And the thing is, like where I live now is more country, but there are times where it could be used against you. So let me back up. I am careful on what I carry day in and day out, put in the car with me. There are certain things I don't carry because I have been pulled over several times, but it's good to know, you know. Now, are you doing any work in Florida, or you got any plans to come here?
So we've had a bill in Florida a number of times. It's not an easy state to get something done in. We certainly want to eventually pass preemption in Florida, and we're working on how we can accomplish that within the resources that we have available to us.
Gotcha.
Those things, you know, getting laws repealed and getting preemption passed. So we've done the easy states. So now we're getting to the more difficult states, either more difficult because of the politics or more difficult because it's just the nature of that state's legislature that it's hard to get things done in.
Gotcha.
But every time we tick another state off the list, it makes it easier when we get to that state, whichever reason it is, because we can say, hey, nothing bad happened and everyone's happy.
Yeah.
So, you know, when we first started out and everyone told me I was crazy and out of my mind and there was no way you would ever repeal a switchblade ban anywhere, it was harder because we didn't have a track record. And, and so you start with the easy states. We did, the first state we did Switchblade ban, Dirk Staggers, and that sort of thing was New Hampshire, which has its reputation for being a very free state. And the first state we did preemption was my own state of Arizona, which again, relatively speaking, that was not as huge lift as some other states. So
why the hell is a Dirk a problem? I see that like in reading and studying different laws, and I always see Dirk. Why?
Because if you look at model laws from years and years ago, you'll see Dirk Dagger Slow, and you Dirk Dagger Slow, Dirk Dagger Slow.
Gotcha.
People start borrowing, legislators, bill drafters borrow language from other states that they see. So as that movement got started, okay, that state uses that language, let's do that here. So that's why a significant portion of the states that have restrictions read almost identically as you go from state to state to state, because they're just copied.
Most of them wouldn't know what a damn Dirk was.
That's correct.
I mean, just being honest, I've always wondered that. It's like they couldn't pick it out of a lineup. So that one, some of the stuff I can go, okay, I see where, the movie Warriors, Warriors come out and play, and I can understand that. But a damn Dirk from the Scottish Highlands, I'm like, who would know that?
Well, and so for example, when we did New Hampshire, which was the first state that we did that in, and got rid of that kind of law.
Right.
One of the points we made is, you guys, the Scottish games are a big deal in New Hampshire, and all these people running around with Dirks are basically breaking the law. Is that really what you want?
Right.
You use the arguments that make sense to the audience that you're working with.
Absolutely.
And that made a lot of sense in New Hampshire.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. The preemption,
preemption.
When you are picking a state to do that in, or to go, and I know you said you did the easy states and now you're moving into the hard, do you compile all that research yourself?
Yeah, we do this all ourselves.
So the three of you.
My wife takes care of the back end stuff, memberships, that kind of stuff, helps with some of the fundraising. Todd Rathner does most of our lobbying, and I do everything else.
I got you. Well, I know you're very active on Instagram, and I can't imagine the time all this takes. I mean, it's got to be time numbing. Yeah, it's got to be, and keeping up with each separate thing.
Yeah, I mean, folks ask us why we're not more active on social media, and I don't have time, and unlike larger organizations, I don't have the money to hire somebody, whether in-house or by contract, and say, here, you take care of our social media.
Right.
That's not within our resources. We just don't have that kind of
it's not saying a lot, but that's what we're here for. Not us, but us as a community.
Yeah.
So if there's something that needs to be put on social media, that needs to be talked about, that needs to be preached, no pun intended, it's something that we can do for you as a community.
The times when it matters the most, I mean, aside from fundraising, for the Ultimate Steel and that sort of thing, or when you guys did Knives Live, which was an incredible event, times we need it the most is when we have a call to action. So if I post an action alert on Instagram or Facebook, that means we need people to email their legislators today. Sometimes we only have 24 hours. Sometimes we have more, but it's so important to get that word out to the people that live in that state. We've made it very simple. We have a legislative action center. It's a service that we subscribe to, so that we set up the action alert. Person goes on, and depending upon how it's set up, they just basically input their name, email, address, and it takes care of everything else.
Okay.
They push submit, and it goes to the people that need to know that there are people who are interested in this bill moving forward.
Right.
And that's critical. That is absolutely critical. When we can generate 1,000 or 2,000 emails to legislatures about a particular bill, that makes a difference. Really
Absolutely.
does.
You hear that, guys? Whoever's watching this right now, and I'm sure this is going to be replayed over and over again after the live is done. That's very important. That's a very good point. And everyone should really get on that.
If you guys can spread the word when I post one of those things,
yes,
one of those action alerts, those are the most time critical. As I say, sometimes we only have 24 hours to try and influence a chairman to hold a vote on a bill or something like that. And the more emails we generate, the better off it is.
Right. And you usually post that on Instagram?
I'm sorry?
Usually post that on Instagram?
Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.
Okay.
Those are our 3 social media outlets. Use it, I prefer working on Instagram. Facebook is very frustrating because they shadow ban us a lot.
Oh, okay.
Even though we're an advocacy organization. So even though we have thousands of followers on Facebook, it's not unusual for less than 1,000 of them to have seen one of our posts. It's very frustrating.
Yeah.
It's and every year and a half, I have to get into it with them about us not selling knives, and we're an advocacy organization, and you need to let us turn back on. And it's really a pain.
Frustrating. There's other fights you want to fight other than that, I'm sure.
Yeah. I mean, getting the word out is one of the most difficult tasks we face. Getting legislation done, going to court, all of that is what we do. Right. But getting the word out turns out to be one of the most difficult things we do.
Right. And it's understandable. I mean, just the fight you have to fight. It sucks. But again, and I'm looking over here in the comments, and people are saying we'll get the word out. So that's what we need to do. I know in my 50 years, I've seen the knife community jump and explode and become one of the most welcoming places on planet Earth. But it seems like right now, more than ever, more people are into knives. So right now would be the time for everybody to get behind knife rights, because it's your rights. This is something that everybody over here in the comments and everybody that's going to watch this has a stake in. This isn't, you're not like doing something for one little group. This is all of us. And once people buy into that, or they need to buy into that, hopefully, you should never have to worry about funding, is what I'm saying.
Boy, that would be nice, but I'm not holding my breath. It's important. I think also we occasionally get people who come up to the booth and, when are you going to do my state? And they ask them where they live, and they go, well, we'll get there eventually. And it's like, well, when you come to New York, let me know. And I'm like, guys, we're never going to get to New York and be successful if we don't get these other states done. So how about supporting us now so that we eventually get to your more difficult state?
Right.
Because the more that we get done, the easier it is as we get to the really, really, really difficult states.
And those are fights you're already having to gear up for. It's coming.
Well, yeah. I mean, this is all a building process. I had no clue what I was getting into when I started Knife Rights, but it was a steep learning curve, but we've discovered that perseverance and stubbornness, or whatever you want to call it, is one of the most important attributes if you want to get laws changed.
Yeah.
And there are, Ohio, 5 years of effort to get our first bill passed there. New York was 9.5 years of effort, and just gobs of money between our federal civil rights case and the legislature, where we passed a bill twice to have it vetoed. And, finally, with our federal case on conference scheduled for conference at the Supreme Court, finally, Governor Cuomo signed our bill repealing the gravity knife bans, because if we had won, even though it wasn't a 2A case, if we had won, it would have been very good for Second Amendment litigation because of the precedent it would have established on the vagueness issue. So we basically backed them into a corner, but it took 9.5 years and hundreds of thousands of dollars.
I can't even imagine.
But
yeah,
in that same time period, 70,000 people were arrested and prosecuted in New York City for carrying a common pocket knife.
Really?
86% of which were people of color, even in white majority neighborhoods. So, this is criminal justice reform. This is the reason that we get support from the left, the reason we got virtually unanimous, but by one vote, out of a clearly left-leaning legislature in New York. And we get this done with everyone's help. We can't do anything without the fuel in the tank, and the fuel is money.
Right, absolutely.
Like it or not, that's the reality. We like to think that we give you a good return on your investment, but it still takes a lot of money to do this.
Well, again, and I think the Knives Live that we just had was eye-opening for me. And it seemed to go off without a hitch. And I was glad I'm hoping maybe to participate. I'm hoping Blade Talk can participate in the
we'll love that
coming this year.
Yeah.
That was a magnificent event.
Oh,
I don't
awesome.
think any of us had any idea how well it was going to go. And the guys that put it on did an incredible job on short notice. And the thought that you guys are going to do this again. We have never had a year-end fundraiser event that was as successful as that was. So I'm very excited. I was excited when it happened and the results, and I'm looking forward to this year's even more, because I think it's going to be huge.
Yeah.
Amazing what you can do when you know.
I think so too.
When you've done it once before and you've figured out a lot of the intricacies.
I think it's going to be. It was great. I know Casey was involved. He's in the comments, and an awesome dude. And I can't wait to see what's going to happen with it this year. I think it's going to be even bigger, because it was exciting.
Oh, yeah.
There was a lot of excitement around it. There was a lot of buzz around it. A lot of folks participated, and I'm really, and like I said, we'd like to participate if we can, and if not, we'll promote the hell out of it. We'll do what we do and do it best. We just want to help.
I'm happy. I'm really happy to have a fundraiser that I can sit back and enjoy, as opposed to putting on myself.
Sure.
So that is sincerely appreciated. Everyone did an incredible job. I was amazed how well it went.
I'm definitely. I think we're all definitely looking forward to the next one. And like Scab said, I would love it if we'll try to get Blade Talk definitely involved in it too. And listen, the more contributors we have, the more channels we have contributing. I think this one should be. I think this one should definitely be. The next one coming up should be larger than the previous one, because I think, like Scab said, many people's eyes were opened, and so many people are on board for the first time without even knowing what knife rights was. And like you said, there's people that don't even know there's a knife problem. Maybe they live in a state where they're just going about their lives, and they don't know that there's even an issue or a problem. And
one of the interesting things we find oftentimes when we go into a new state is that while they have restrictions and people may or may not pay attention to them, they don't look at it as a problem. Mm-hmm. Even if the restrictions are pretty restrictive, they don't look at it as a problem. They grew up with it. They maybe haven't lived elsewhere. It's just, okay, this is what it is. I'm allowed to have a pocket knife with a 3-inch blade, and they don't give it a second thought.
Right.
They don't look at it as a freedom issue or anything else.
Right.
And when you bring it to their attention, they're like, "Oh, I never thought of that." Well, I get it. You didn't. Now, hopefully, you will.
Yeah. Getting the knife channels involved. Joe did some research not long ago where how many hits did Google say channels like ours get, Joe?
I know I told you, but I'm just trying to recall because I was
like
doing
70 to 80 million.
It was something like 7 or 8 million
7 or 8 million
searches throughout last year for within our genre of knives and swords and blades and all that. And I think they broke it down. Google broke it down to like something like 8,000 an hour or something.
So we need to get more of the community involved, because that's a lot of searches. And if everybody's touting what we should be touting, the word gets out, you know, and that seems like the big thing here, especially, you know, until somebody goes to jail. Nobody thinks about it until they go to jail. And just have a pocket knife.
Yeah.
You know, as I like to tell people, it's not a problem until it's your problem.
Exactly.
That's exactly it.
Exactly.
So, guys, I think we have, I mean, we're not ending the show right now. We're probably going to change gears a little bit, but Doug, thank you. Thank you for
absolutely
championing this, for all of the work that you're putting. I mean, and when you're telling me it's just mainly 3 people, I mean, it's enormous what you guys have achieved. And it's also just putting a staple and putting a presence into the community and into our cause that is so enormous to this point. And it's getting, and as people become more and more aware of it, that's really what it's all about. I mean, it's about people getting aware that there is an issue. And that's the first, like, you know, when you know there's a problem, and then, all right, now we know there's a problem. So now we got to do something about it. So guys, yes, there's a problem. There's been a problem. And, you know, fine gentlemen like Doug are basically championing this for us. So I'm assuming we're getting our point across to the point where it is a team effort and we all have to join together, whether it be monetarily with donations and memberships and Ultimate Steel Spectacular. I'm psyched about that right now. I'm actually can't wait for that to go. You said about April, sometime around April?
It'll launch about April.
Around April?
Early, mid-April.
As soon as we hear a peep about that, I mean, we're all going to be charging against that and advertising it and speaking about it. So I can't wait for that to happen. So I'm stoked about that. But yes, it's all about a community effort, guys. It's we all have to make a difference, and we have to just take a little bit weight off your shoulders, or at least let the weight, you know, don't let the weight be a little lighter on your shoulders, just to give you a little help. So I'm hoping that we can kind of all join together and make a difference for this and for Knife Rights and support Doug and everything.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we're definitely going to be touting that from this point on. So changing gears again a little bit, I actually want to bring in a really beautiful set of knives that it was my honor to hold in my hand and review. Thank you to Rusty Knife Lover, for sharing all of his beautiful knives. So I wanted to actually kind of bring those on screen, and I want you to talk about your knives stuff. So let me actually try to get that in. The magic of technology here.
I can do that.
Okay. All right. Here we go. All right. Here are the 2 beauties. Okay. So this is the MK1 G2, the full size, and the mini. The full size there.
Just to start.
Yes.
It's not MK1.
Oh, it's not. Okay. So I misspoke or I miswrote.
That's okay. Most people
sorry about that.
It's actually Mark 1.
Mark 1. Okay.
It's a long story, but basically, if you understand military nomenclature or British car nomenclature, it will make a lot of sense.
Okay.
I'll say this. I love both, and I tested both, and I one of my favorite videos I've done.
It's a knife right there.
The big one I loved. It's touted as a survival knife, and it held up. One of the few knives that I've tested that I thought, you know what, if I was in the woods, I'm fine. But that small one, Mr. Ritter, I'm probably buying one soon. That small one, I'm serious.
Thank you.
I don't know why. It's just that thin, slicey. Oh, I just love that knife. I love everything about both, but there are a few knives that speak to me. And you know how it is. You're a knife guy. You'll get that knife that just speaks to you.
Nobody, first of all, nobody that's listening here needs another knife. They may want one, and this is America. You're allowed to want one. But knives are an emotional thing. They just
Yeah.
are, you know, as you said, some knives speak to you and some don't. Some fit your hand and some don't. You know, I'm proud of the fact that my knives are very well received, and the majority of people who try them, it works for them. I'm blessed that, you know, Hogue is producing an incredibly high quality knife for me, and it's not designed as a show knife. I mean, we've done some very fancy editions, and we probably will continue to on occasion, but it's designed as a user. It's designed as a knife that you carry and use at work. And while I love the fact that we have some fans that have purchased every color combination and every size, and my fixed blade as well. You know, I love seeing the pictures of the folks who are using their knife every day at work, because, you know, that's why I designed it. I designed it to be an EDC that you could, you know, trust, and a knife that you're willing to bet your life on.
Yeah, absolutely. And that big one is, they're both are. It's hard for me to say which is my favorite. I'm thinking, I'm moving on up towards a certain number of subscribers, and I'm thinking about getting the big one for a giveaway, but it's a work knife. It's a knife that I don't know. I like the ramp. I like a little bit of jimping, but I love that ramp because my busted hands, I like that ramp, and I love the lock.
Yes.
Talk to me a little bit about the design and your thought process in it, if you don't mind.
Sure. So most people will recognize that the original design for this lock was the Axis lock by McHenry and Williams. Benchmade made the first version of my RSK folders and my RSK Mark III fixed blade. The patent for the Axis lock ran out in 2016. Things marched on. I ended up working with Hogue, and the idea was to take what we'd done with Benchmade and make it better. I mean, the Griptilian was an incredible platform to work on, and I was honored to work with Benchmade and to work with Mel Pardue. May he rest in peace.
Amen.
That was a great platform, and I knew that working with Hogue, we could do better. The question is, how do we do better? And one of the areas was the Axis lock, and we came up with what we call the ABLE lock, ambidextrous bar lock enhanced. One of the great things about this lock is always been that it's ambidextrous, so that makes it great. So you don't have to produce a different knife for lefties. And I have a lot of lefty friends, and so I've always been proud that my knives have been lefty friendly. So the question is, how do you take this incredible design by McHenry and Williams and make it better? And it turns out that you make a few very proprietary, big secret, not going to tell you, very subtle changes, and then you apply Hogue's QC to it, and you end up with a lock that just functions just a smidgen better.
Yeah.
And I love this lock. The first time I saw this lock was in a prototype before anyone even knew it existed practically. And it was a forehead slapping, why didn't I think of that sort of moment? It just is a fantastic lock. You know, we build it better, or should say Hogue builds it better. They're using Wolf springs. You know, we added G10 for the handles and scales, slightly different configuration on the handle, a little bit longer so we could put a lanyard hole at the end where I felt it belonged. And they're just, you know, Hogue's knocking it out of the park for me. They really are. Yeah. And I love the feedback we get. And I love the fact that if there is a problem, Hogue is like Johnny on the spot. We don't get many, but it's a production knife, and it's not a particularly expensive production knife. So the fact that we could do all this and give people a knife that, that answers the question I first asked and wanted to answer with the first time I designed the knife, which was, I was the survival guy. People would ask me, what kind of knife should I buy? And there was like always a but at the end of that answer. Right. And the opportunity to work with Mel and Benchmade and come out with using their chassis and my blade design, which was admittedly heavily influenced by my friend Chris Reeve, it all came together and has been incredibly well received when you consider, we've been making this knife in one version or another since 2005.
Right.
And it's still going strong. And as we talked about earlier, I couldn't do knife rights, or I certainly we couldn't do nearly as much with knife rights if they had to pay me to do it. But the income from these knives, besides getting an incredible knife, you're supporting me, which means I get to do knife rights,
right?
Which is my passion.
It's a win-win.
And they're solely available at KnifeWorks.
KnifeWorks.
That's correct.
Can we talk about the fixed blade a little bit? Because I know a couple of people in the chats. Rusty was touting also your fixed blade knife, which I have on screen there.
Yeah, sure.
Beautiful.
So the fixed blade was folders are great. Fixed blades are stronger. That's just a fact.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to, when I first designed this with the original with Benchmade, it was, let's take the folder and turn it into a fixed blade. And there were some things I wanted that just naturally flowed from that. You get a little bigger blade. It's 4.5 inches instead of 3.5 inches. The handle's a little longer. It's got a, good sheath. Can't win with sheaths. No matter what sheath you put on the blade, half the people aren't going to like it. So it's got a good solid sheath. You want a Kydex sheath, there's a lot of people who make it for you.
Right.
The original was an S30V. The new one by Hogue is an S45VN, which I think is a great steel, very tough. The sort of thing, the toughness of which you don't need so much in a folder, but as you move to a fixed blade that's going to be subject most likely to more abuse, having that extra toughness while still maintaining edge holding, is a good choice. And quite frankly, trying to do a fixed blade out of M390 would have raised the price even more.
Right.
So, it's a lot of people look at it and go, that's a weird looking fixed blade. And I get it, but use it and it'll all make sense.
I
can see how comfortable it is right now without even holding it in my hand. I can definitely envision that. It looks great.
What is the price point on that? I'm actually looking for it now.
$192.95 on
there. What he said
on
That's it?
Yes, $192.95.
That one may be coming home with me today.
Option for engraving it.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I like is one of the things I like about my partnership with KnifeWorks is their engraving, and they have, they can engrave your name, and that's pretty straightforward. But they have done some incredible engraving for some of the folks who own my knives that are just breathtaking and intricate, and they do a really great job of that. And as long as we're talking about my knives, this one isn't exclusive with KnifeWorks and is available from knife dealers all around. And that's my little Rsk Mark V, which comes in a little tin that you can turn into a survival kit.
Okay.
And it fits inside that. This was a knife that was originally a collaboration and done by CRKT. CRKT discontinued it a few years ago. And Blue Ridge Knives, who's the world's largest knife distributor. They wanted to bring it back. We went back to the same factory that made the original, and they're doing a great job. It's literally half the cost that it used to be. You can easily, you can see, $15.95. It's a great little knife. It ain't the best steel in the world, but it will do the job. I have taken down 3-inch saplings with it. Took a little time, but it's a great little knife as a neck knife, or for what it's designed to be, which is inside a small personal survival kit.
I tell you what I'm doing right now. I'm gonna put it down, because as soon as this is over, I'm buying the fixed blade. So
It's beautiful.
You could probably, depending on how long it takes them to get to me, we'll have a review. One of my award-winning reviews where I stumble around and cut everything, including myself.
Okay, well, be careful. It is sharp.
Oh man,
one of the things I like about Hogue, among many things, is the pride they take in putting incredibly sharp edge on their knives.
And that's a premium.
Cool.
Yeah, no, we'll get a review up of it. I'm sitting here. I'm going to fill it.
Well, hopefully you'll like it, but
No, I'll like it. If
it's anything like the folder,
yeah,
I mean, I'm sold already, because the folder, the comfort of that folder is incredible. So I mean, and I'm looking at the hand. I mean, yeah, it's pretty much the folder, but in fixed blade version with a better blade, a longer blade. I mean, it's all that the folder is in a fixed blade version. That's basically what it is.
That was the idea.
Yeah.
We've thought about producing a bigger folder, but that's big folders are a relatively small market, and we're already in a small market.
Right.
So, I think the fixed blade fills that niche really, really well.
Right.
And people are responding positively.
Definitely are. Duncan, you saw making some swords?
Yeah, I don't think so.
I'll definitely be in the market for those. So a lot of my sword people want to look for those.
Joe's a sword guy. Well, I'm kind of fired up about the fixed blade, which I'm going to buy. I'm so excited.
Well, thank you.
Here's the thing. Here's what we'll do. We'll do a review of it, which I know I'm going to like it, and then that might be a knife I give away for my 5,000. That'd be pretty cool. I like
a pretty generous giveaway, but I'm not going to complain.
Hey, if we can do it and we can help, then that's what we should do. I really believe that. And if the folders, and I say this, I'm one of the most redundant humans on earth, but my hands are busted up. So your handles, that's something for me that I know when a guy designs a knife, I kind of call them knife guys, the guys that take care of the handles, where the handle's not an afterthought, where it's actually part.
When I give a talk about survival equipment and we talk about knives, I tell people all the time, whatever you do buying a knife, buy my knife, buy somebody else's knife, get yourself a good solid knife. If you can't hold it or return it if it doesn't fit you, don't buy it, because that is so individual.
Right.
I'm glad the majority of people who try my knives love the handle, but there's always people who go, oh my God, I've never held anything more uncomfortable in my life. And it's like, okay, this doesn't fit you.
Right.
But it's been so well received. I take a lot of pride in that we've produced something that people use every day and enjoy, and there's a functional beauty to it that I just love. And we got exciting colors, and there's something there for everybody. I think they're one of the best values on the market today, quite frankly.
Yeah, I would agree. I would definitely agree. And
things. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Finish this.
No, go ahead, Joe.
No, I was just saying. A couple of people in the chat room. I want to bring up something that Rusty had said. Sorry to block your face.
Yeah, I know, Rusty. You want to XL. Yeah, will it happen someday? Maybe, but not anytime soon. We have a full schedule of things that we want to do, which, in case anyone hasn't noticed, all the manufacturers have back orders for months and months and months. We can only move so much through the pipeline, and thankfully we're selling. But we do have some stuff coming up, but sorry, no XL.
Here's another question from the Shredder Knife Reviews. Ever think of making a budget fixed blade or budget folder?
I've thought about it, and that's all I'll say.
Okay. There you go.
Well, the Mark V is a budget, wasn't that?
There you go. I mean, $15.95 is pretty budget.
That's definitely budget. Yeah,
that's pretty budget.
But we still want them bigger. We want them budget, but we want them bigger.
There's
a
lot of things I'd like, but
there's only so much time in the day.
Exactly. So definitely great knives, and we definitely want to look into that. Knifeworks.com is where you guys want to go and take a look at an exclusive line of knives from Mr. Doug Ritter here. And I've held some in my hand. You can talk to Rusty about it. Rusty Knife Lover. He'll tout them to the end of the moon, and good reason. And I honestly think, Doug, whoever physically gets your knife in their hands, they fall in love with it, and they can, basically speak the praises of it and when you physically hold it and use it, it's that's what sells you on it. So
I appreciate that. My owners are my best advertising.
Yes.
And I love that we have so many loyal RSK Mark I owners and Mark III owners that, and the Mark V for that matter. They're excited about the knives, and that's, as a knife designer, you can't ask for anything more.
Can't ask for anything more, of course. That's exactly it. The greatest satisfaction is hearing the praises of people who are happy with your work and can spread the word about it. And that's the greatest satisfaction. And anybody who's a creator, you could be a knife designer, you could be a content creator. When somebody is proud of the work that you're proud of, it makes it all worth it. That's really what it comes down to. But Doug, how about you give away a knife to the community tonight on this live?
That works for me.
I'm going to make Rusty Knife Lover scream right now. Rusty, what do you say we give away one of Doug Ritter's knives here? Which is
holy Cuomo. There you go. I'm not going to complain about that. Wow.
What do you say, Rusty? No, Rusty, I'm kidding. Of course, I'm kidding. This knife has to be mailed back to you. I do.
I didn't get that, but now I do. That's funny.
It's not mine, in other words. It's not ours. Rusty lent it to me for a review. I do have if you guys were joining us on the live on Wednesday, we gave away, if I can get this damn box open, we were giving away a K-bar dozer, which is right here. We gave one away on our live. Actually, Dwayne Letterman, if you're listening, it's going to be in the mail after the winner of this one wins this one tonight. But this is a K-bar dozer. So we want to, Doug, I would like you to give this away to someone in our chat room tonight, if that would be okay.
That's fine. What am I picking a number between?
All right. So let's go through the rules, because there has to be rules. So guys, as you know, you have to be over 18. It has to be within the United States, okay, as far as shipping address. And we're going to be, Doug, you're going to think of a number between 200 and 500. Any number between 200 and 500. Anyone who obviously picks your number wins, or whoever comes closest to that number in the chat room will win this K-bar dozer given to you from Doug Ritter. So you'll remember that forever. So you can pick the number, and like I showed you the private chat, just write it into the private chat, which you did already. Okay, I see that. And
I can be taught.
Okay, listen. It's we're coaching you and you're getting there. You told me you're slow on this stuff, but you're good. You're on the board, man. You're doing well. You're doing well, Doug. But Tina, darling, Tina's our moderator, and Tina, thank you so much for helping us out with moderating our lives. Tina, whenever you're ready, if you can press start on the chat room, and then guys, after you see Tina pressing start in the chat, start choosing your numbers and only choose one number, please. Once you pick your number, move on, and then we'll go to stop, and then we'll add it up and see what's going on. We're not going to let this last long, guys. Couple of minutes. So the start is there. Everyone start picking your numbers. All right, and there it goes. People love this part of the live, Doug.
Folks like getting free stuff.
Of course,
I get it. That's one of the reasons that we give away so many knives on the Ultimate Steel.
Yes.
Well, I just bought your knife, so
thank you so much, Scab. I appreciate it.
Listen, my wife messes with me all the time about my coming across sincere. The harder I try, the worse it gets. But man, listen, I'm as excited about this. I got the fixed blade, basic setup. I'm stoked, man. I am super. You, Bill Harsey, Donnie B All Day, and Zeke Minacho are like my favorites. You guys are just some of my favorite knife designers.
I mean, to be even mentioned in that August company, especially Bill, who I love and have an incredible amount of respect for. I mean, thank you. I'm humbled. I would never put myself at that level.
Well,
I mean, those are actual knife makers.
Here's what I love to tell everyone, especially people who you always have trolls. So when people troll, I remind them of this. I speak to Mr. Harsey about once a month, so they can kiss my ass. Bill's an awesome dude. He's as humble as he is kind. And when you talk to the guy, you would think he never designed anything in his life, and I'm like, it's insane.
He's so incredibly talented. He is such a nice guy. I mean, everyone knows him for knife making and stuff. Have you ever seen some of the blacksmithing that he has done? I mean, oh my God. I mean, he's just one of the nicest people in a community with an awful lot of nice people.
Right. But he's genuine.
Yeah.
I mean,
Hold on one second, guys. Tina, can you press stop? I'm hoping that everybody chose their numbers. If you could press stop. Go ahead, guys. I'm sorry.
Grugs, did you know, Mr. Ritter, did you know Al Marr by chance? Grugs was asking in the comments.
No, I didn't know.
Didn't know Al.
He was before my time, if you will.
Okay. Well, how did you get into the survival part?
So that all started when I was a pilot, general aviation pilot, living in Arizona, flying over a lot of rough terrain. I decided I needed to assemble a good survival kit, and I'm sort of a research nerd, so I did a lot of research. Ended up putting together a kit, and later on, when I decided I would start writing about aviation, the first article I sold was to Aviation Safety, basically about this kit that I had assembled and then refined over a number of years.
Okay.
And I kept writing about survival related issues and equipment, and started my Equip to Survive site. And it just grew. And as a result of being interested in survival equipment, obviously knives are an important part of that. And so I got to know a lot of people in the knife industry, and it just sort of, one thing led to another. But it was my love of aviation and flying and wanting to cover my butt in case something bad happened that led me into the whole world of survival, which, ended up including sitting on committees that make standards for safety equipment in aircraft, airline aircraft and marine, and
So it
doing
just opened the
consulting
whole.
for the military and a lot of that kind of stuff.
Have you ever had to bail out of a plane?
Nope.
Have you ever wanted to?
Never hoped to. No, I'm not one. I have friends who love to jump out of airplanes. Not very few of them are perfectly good airplanes, but it's just that's never appealed to me. I've done plenty of stuff that people go, why would you do that? And I've raced cars, and I fly general aviation, but just perfectly happy not jumping out of aircraft.
I don't know if you've seen, there was a jackass, and that's the only way to put it. I guess he did it for YouTube for views.
I know exactly the one you're talking about. It's just,
what the hell, man? Did you see that?
Mm-hmm. Stupid is as stupid does.
That dude, that it's like to me, I don't care how much training you have. It's like playing Russian roulette. It's like, I'm gonna pick up this gun and point it at myself. And shit, what are you doing? And then,
I suspect it was a lot more contrived than it appeared to be.
Yeah, absolutely. That's my whole point. Why I can get views another way,
Apparently, he figured this was the way he was going to do it. Yeah, there are people like that out there. We talk about knives; they do stupid stunts and try to get views that way.
Yeah. I'm not crashing an airplane. I'm not crashing my airplane. If I got a perfectly good airplane, I'm not crashing it.
Yeah, well, he may not have exactly crashed his either. Just saying.
Hey, I'm with you.
But no, I'm perfectly happy not to have jumped out of airplanes. Quick story. One of the things I did in my aviation writing career is I did a lot of writing about military aviation. And so that enabled me the opportunity to fly in some pretty cool aircraft, including an F-16 with Air Guard out of Tucson. And as you go in at like way zero dark too early, and you go through all this briefing, and they teach you how to use their parachute in case you eject, and you hang from this bar. Anyway, so you go through all that, you finally get in the plane, you go out to what's known as last chance, which is where the crew chief runs around the airplane, make sure everything's pulled that needs to be pulled, and you're good to go. And we're sitting there listening to another F-16 pilot over the range that we're getting ready to fly to bail out of his aircraft.
Wow. And
just a few hours before, I'm being taught, what do I do if we eject? That was a pretty, and the major I'm flying with is like, we may end up having to go find this guy. Like, okay, whatever. It was a pretty surreal experience. It does bring home the fact that, stuff happens, and our military just strapping these things on are risking life and limb, let alone going to war and everything else that these people do on our behalf. But that was as surreal a moment as you want to get. And luckily, his wingman found them immediately, and we were able to complete our own mission, which was, something I'll never forget. It was a unique experience, and I'm glad I had it. But I'm not sure how we got onto that. But I did have a knife in my pocket.
There you go. Well, you were ready to survive.
There you go.
Well, let's see. JR, what'd you order? I just ordered Doug Ritter's MSK MQ3 G2. Now, JR,
we got a couple orders from this live. Yeah, a couple people went. I know Tina ordered that too.
Thank you guys. I appreciate it. And
now, JR,
I hope you
coming to me
knives as much as I did.
The thing that I love about JR ordering knives is they typically come to me before
Dude, you're gonna say that
before he opens them. So, oh, you got the fixed blade. So did I.
That's
I'm
a
so
pretty good
excited.
trick. That's a pretty good trick.
Hey, I can't be. He's kept this channel going. I promise you that. I'm so excited about that fixed blade, man.
All right, I think I got to get myself that fixed blade too now. I'm a little jealous.
Hey, that's the beauty of Sezzle. People that don't know about Sezzle, and I'm hoping Megan's not watching right now. That's where they break it down into 4 easy payments.
Oh yeah, how does that work? Like, explain to me that Sezzle. It's a payment plan then, right?
Dude, listen.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
All I did was hit. I've got like, Lord, I hope she's not watching. I've got probably $3,000 worth of credit with Sezzle. And here's the thing.
So when's the funeral?
Oh yeah, no doubt.
She wouldn't look. She wouldn't see this far into it. You're safe.
No, that's true. Joe, what you do is you hit Sezzle, like I just hit Sezzle. So I chose the option. It's 192 whatever, which is insanely. It's S45VN, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a hell of a price. And I never thought. My dad and I were kind of laughing the other day. If my grandfather was alive, he's hanging over here on the wall, and I said $192 was a hell of a price for a knife, he'd probably be like, "Boy, really?" But he was an old World War II guy, you know. But all you do, Joe, is like I think that was shipping. It was $200, so all I had to do is pay $50 now. Dude,
no, you wouldn't have paid shipping for that. Anything over $100 from KnifeWorks is free shipping.
It's free shipping, yes.
Okay,
yes,
cool.
Yeah, free shipping. KnifeWorks is great. I like KnifeWorks a lot.
Thank you.
Well,
yeah,
like
they've been a great partner.
Yeah, I actually chose to go with KnifeWorks over all the. I just felt like I had the best treatment. I like dealing with them better than anybody else. For whatever reason, I was comfortable with them.
Satisfaction, yes.
Oh, there are. I'm obviously they're my partner. I love Roger and Ashley and the crew there, but there are a lot of good online companies who support knife rights, and we couldn't do this without their support. So KnifeWorks is great, but so is a bunch of others. I don't want to get into naming names because then I'll forget someone and I'll never hear the end of it.
I do that all the time. But listen, I'm glad you go. It's always good to have the people you go with. You're comfortable with them. You know them. They know you. Everything that I've heard about them has been outstanding. So please, if you're watching, don't screw up my order. I love y'all. I'll wear a T-shirt that says KnifeWorks on the next time I wear. I'll advertise for free.
All right. Well, let's go back to the knife because I know I don't want anybody to leave the room without winning a knife. I am reading the number on your private chat. Can you tell everyone what the number is?
376.
Okay, guys. I'm also reading Doug Ritter 376. That is the number we chose for.
I chose it.
You chose. I'm sorry. I'm just so used to saying we. For now, we're actually having you choose it. Doug. Number is 376, guys. Actually, I'm going to put it on screen. 376. And if you guys can help me out and see who got closest to that number, because I don't feel like going through all of it. Tina, can you help me out, darling?
Next thing you know, Joe will be heading up KnifeWorks. Knife Rights. It'll be Doug and Joe running Knife Rights. You got to watch him. He'll be right there with you.
It's important. Let's go to the start here. All right, so guys, whoever came closest to 376.
Napster Ninja. That got 376. That's pretty good.
He got it on the nose?
That's money. Good job. Ed Harrison. I'm jealous.
Congratulations.
On the nose. Wow. Well, I got to give him.
We had one that had 375.
So, Napster Ninja.
That's crazy.
Awake before I am now.
I only do that to annoy Scab.
Yeah, and you just did. Trust me.
Actually, I should say if I see your eyes getting a little closed up, Scab, I'm actually just gonna blow the horn. Like even if
it's the whole 2-job thing, Joe. And then
I know.
I'm gonna hit you so hard.
Napster Ninja, congratulations, buddy. You won a knife from Mr. Doug Ritter. You should be honored. You should be proud, and you should remember that for the rest of your life, my friend. So if you can please email us at Blade Talk 22. Is it, Scab? Blade Talk 22?
Blade Talk 22. Hey, you know what I might do, Joe, with that knife? I might do a review, put it out there. I think that would be awesome for our raffle for our vets. We have a big thing coming up, Mr. Ritter. We support.
Please just call me Doug.
Doug.
When you call me Mr. Ritter, I think of my grandfather.
we do a raffle for veterans, and what we do, no money comes to us at all, none. We have folks donate to a charity, send us the screenshot. And I tell you what, if we put a Doug Ritter knife out there, I think that would be, I'll do a full review.
Right.
I think that'd be the way to go.
That's a great idea.
That'd be the way to go.
Yep.
I think that's the knife.
It'll mean a lot. It'll mean there's a lot of meaning behind it. So I think that's perfect.
I think that's the knife we need to. I've been kind of, one of the reasons we've been kind of hanging on and just so everybody knows, and JR's already donated another Hogue to give. I've been waiting for a knife that fits the bill. I think this one does. I think it does.
Thank you. I'm honored. I support our veterans. I support our military. I support our first responders. These are good people doing good work.
Absolutely.
Who don't get near the credit that they deserve and get pissed on way too much by ignorant folk.
Absolutely do. I think that's what we'll do. That's perfect. A great idea. Perfect. All right, Joe. Since you're the boss here, what do we got rolling?
I think we accomplished a lot for this live. I think we got a lot of great messages across. And again, as Scab had said before, Doug, you are always welcome on this
I appreciate
platform.
It. And
not only from us, in this community. I mean, you're always welcome in this community. No matter who it is,
that.
You're always welcome.
I really do.
And you have to understand, you have to believe that we do talk about you a lot. We do mention you a lot. We mention knife rights, and we all are backing you. And we're all so proud of the work that you've been doing. And we just thank you. Thank you for all the energy that you put into it. And we really appreciate it.
I really appreciate it. I appreciate the opportunity to get on and tell folks about what I'm passionate about. Thank you for the opportunity, and we'll do this again.
Yes, absolutely. Without a doubt. It's an open.
You have an open.
Yep.
You have an open invitation.
Yeah, and guys, also as we mentioned, follow Knife Rights on Instagram or Facebook. Specifically, Instagram is a little easier to get into, and definitely look out for any bulletins, anything that needs to have attention put to it, and please do your best to support and get behind it as soon as possible, as soon as it comes up. So everyone get into Instagram and let's all make a difference together. Let's make it a group effort, because that's the only way this is going to work, if we kind of all team up and make this work together.
I like
that. Works
here too. So Doug, Mr. Ritter, Doug, thank you. Thank you for being here. We really appreciate it. Thanks for all the time you spent with us today. And again, we're hoping to do this again soon. Call upon us if there's even anything you just want to get across and get out there, and we'll get you on as soon as possible and just try to help out the cause as much as we can. To
Thanks
everyone
so much.
in the room, thank you for all your comments. Thanks for sticking with us. Napster Ninja, congratulations on the dozer knife. Please, like I said, email us so we can get your information and we can get this knife out. So you actually have two knives that I have to kind of mail out to you and Dwayne Letterman, these two dozer knives. But thank you for joining us, guys. Hoping you could share this video to everyone out there after this goes, obviously after the conclusion of the live. If you can share this video, because it's ultra important to us, and I think ultra important to everyone in the community. And thanks everyone for joining us. Scab, always a pleasure.
Always.
And Doug, thank you again. I'm going to end off this live. You guys have a great evening. Everyone in the chat room had a great evening. and we'll definitely see you again very soon. Have a good
Y'all
one.
take care.
Thank you,
Good
guys.
night, guys.
Thank you.